we cannot actually measure their brains.
You have power of levitation. Maybe I could just witness it.
From death-defying feats to spiritual quests, monks have been pushing the boundaries of human potential for centuries. What's their secret? What fuels their superhuman endurance and unshakable discipline? Today, we're exploring the world of mysterious monks and uncovering the jaw-dropping stories behind their legendary powers. The monk living with snow. In China's Tibet, where life struggles to exist, a lone monk sits in silence. No fire, no shelter, just an endless white void, and a wind so sharp it pierces through one's skin. This is Rongpu Monastery, the highest monastery on earth. To most, it is uninhabitable. To him, it is the only place where he feels at peace. No one truly knows his name, nor does anyone keep track of the days he has spent here. However, every morning, before the first crack of light touches the Himalayan peaks, he performs a ritual that would break most people in minutes. There is no fire to chase away the brutal cold. Instead, he wakes to air so cold it stings his skin, and he welcomes it. He reaches into the snow, bare hands scooping up the frozen earth. He presses it against his skin, not as a test, not as punishment, but as surrender. His only drinking water, the ice he gathers, holding it in his palms until his own body heat turns it liquid. The monk sips it slowly, reverently, as if it carries something sacred. However, water is not the only thing he has given up. While most of us crumble at the mere thought of skipping a meal, this monk has erased the need for food itself. His strength comes not from nourishment, but from mastery of the mind. For hours, he sits, perfectly still. His lips move in a whisper, chanting sacred mantras that fill the empty air with something unseen. His greatest act is not the chanting, though. It is the act of letting go. To him, this mountain is a temple, a sacred space where he seeks to dissolve himself into something greater. He believes that by surrendering completely, by giving up comfort, attachment, even his own identity, he can merge with the divine presence of Shiva, the cosmic force of destruction and transformation. Now, while he surrenders himself to the brutal grasp of winter, another monk defies gravity itself, clinging to a sheer rock face hundreds of meters above the earth. The monk who can climb a steep slope. In 2020, a video surfaced on X, and the internet couldn't believe what it was seeing. A woman equipped with ropes and a safety harness climbed a near-vertical mountain with intense focus, carefully navigating each foothold. However then, right beside her, something almost supernatural was happening. A monk, barefoot and without a single piece of climbing gear, moved up the rock face like he was taking a casual stroll. The clip, shared by Tansu Yigan, racked up over 510,000 views and 22,000 likes, leaving viewers stunned. Comments flooded in, crediting his seemingly impossible ascent to yoga, meditation, and years of discipline. Some called it the ultimate display of clumsy versus experienced. Others pointed out his technique, moving side to side to lessen the steepness, proving that mastery isn't just about strength, but wisdom. However, one question still remains. How can a human body defy gravity like that? The secret isn't just physical. Many netizens believe his movements come from a place of deep mental control. Through relentless training, the monk has conditioned his mind to stay completely still, even in the face of danger. His breath remains slow and steady, keeping his heart rate low, his muscles loose, his grip unshaken. Fear doesn't paralyze him, because it doesn't exist. in his world, as this monk defied the limits of self-discipline by climbing with bare hands and steady breath. This next one rose through time itself. Gyalwa Karmapa. The Gyalwa Karmapa is not merely a leader. He is a force of nature, a living current of wisdom flowing through centuries. As the head of the Karma Kagyu lineage, he carries the spiritual weight of countless lifetimes. When one Karmapa departs, the search begins, not through politics or earthly decisions, but through visions, sacred texts, and mystical signs that point the way to his rebirth. In June 1985, in the vast and rugged landscapes of Tibet, a son was born to a humble, nomadic family in Latok. His birth was no ordinary event. It was believed the heavens themselves seemed to take notice. His mother had vivid dreams of divine beings, a cuckoo, a bird of great spiritual significance, perched on their tent, and an unearthly conch-like sound resonated through the valley. In Tibet, such events are more than coincidences. They are signs. The boy was named Apo Gaga, happy brother, and from the very beginning, his family knew he was different. At just 4 years old, he began his monastic education, but destiny had far greater plans for him. Then, in the spring of 1992, at the age of 7, he made an astonishing announcement to his parents. They must move. Immediately. He told them to take their encampment to another valley. He spoke with certainty, as if he knew what was coming. Days later, a group of Karma Kagyu lamas arrived, following instructions left in a secret letter, a prophecy written by the 16th Karmapa before his passing. It contained precise details, the year of his rebirth, the location, and even the names of his future parents. Every sign led to one conclusion. Apo Gaga was the reincarnation they had been searching for. Formerly recognized as the 17th Karmapa, Ogyendrodel Trinley Dorje, his identity was confirmed by none other than His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. Even the Chinese government acknowledged his legitimacy, cementing his place as the spiritual leader of his lineage. At the heart of this lineage lies a ritual shrouded in legend, the Black Hat Ceremony. This is no ordinary headdress. It is said to be woven from the hair of celestial beings and gifted by the Buddha himself. More than just a symbol, it is believed to hold immense spiritual power, amplifying the Karmapa's divine presence. Before the ceremony, the Karmapa immerses himself in deep meditation, uniting with Chenrezig, the Buddha of compassion. Then come the prostrations, the mandala offering, and the sacred 7-branch prayer. When the Karmapa finally dons the black hat, something shifts. Devotees describe an undeniable force, an energy that bridges the physical and the sacred. It is believed to hold great spiritual power, strengthening the Karmapa's presence. When he wears it, devotees say they feel a powerful energy, as if something in the room changes. Today, the Karmapa stands as a bridge between the ancient and the modern, blending deep meditative wisdom with a call for action on some of the world's most urgent issues: climate change, education, and global harmony. His presence is a reminder that enlightenment is not just a path, but a force weaving through time. Ultimately, the Karmapa's legacy is reborn with each generation. However, Liu Quan took a different path, seeking eternity within his own body. The discovery of Liu Quan. Imagine scanning an ancient Buddha statue, expecting solid stone, only to uncover something far more extraordinary. Beneath the surface lay a secret hidden for 1,000 years, a perfectly preserved human body, seated in eternal meditation. In 2015, researchers examining the statue made a chilling discovery. The mummified remains of Buddhist master Liu Quan were encased inside. How did he get there? The answer is almost unimaginable. Liu Quan wasn't placed inside the statue after death. He became the statue. You see, Liu Quan was one of the rare monks who underwent self-mummification, a process so extreme, so grueling, that it defies belief. Unlike ordinary mummies preserved by climate or artificial methods, these monks prepared their own bodies while still alive, ensuring they would never decay. For years, Liu Quan followed a diet designed to strip his body of life itself. He abandoned regular food, surviving only on nuts, seeds, bark, and roots, eliminating all fat and moisture, the enemies of preservation. However, starvation wasn't enough. He drank a lethal tea brewed from toxic tree sap, poisoning his body just enough to ensure that no bacteria, insects, or decay would ever touch him. Shockingly, his flesh turned to stone before his passing. Then came the final step. Liu Quan sealed himself inside a stone chamber, entering deep meditation. Each day, he rang a small bell to signal that he was still alive. His fellow monks listened. Then one day, the bell stopped. The chamber was left untouched for years, the monks waiting, hoping. If Liu Quan had mummified successfully, he would be revered as a true enlightened master. If not, he would receive a traditional burial. However, Liu Quan's story didn't end there. When researchers uncovered his remains inside the statue, they found something even more mysterious: cryptic symbols and inscriptions etched into the walls surrounding him. These markings were not ordinary carvings. Some believe they contain lost meditation techniques and hidden teachings on enlightenment, secrets passed down through esoteric Buddhist sects. The statue was eventually housed in the National Museum of Natural History in Budapest. One thing is certain: Liu Quan's path demanded the ultimate price, his own body, his own life. However, not all monks sought immortality this way. Some, like Honen, took a radically different path. Honen. For centuries, enlightenment in Japan was a privilege reserved for the elite. Monks shut themselves away in mountaintop temples, poring over sacred texts and meditating in isolation. Farmers toiled in the fields while outcasts suffered in silence. All of them were told the same thing: salvation was beyond their reach. Then came a single voice that shattered it all. Honen's. Born in 1133, he was raised in the world of Tendai Buddhism, an elite school that held the keys to salvation. He mastered the teachings, committed the scriptures to memory, and followed every rule with unwavering devotion. However, the deeper he studied, the more he saw the truth. This path wasn't made for the people. It was a locked gate with no key. Soon, Honen asked the one question that would change the course of history. What if salvation wasn't something you had to earn? That's when he discovered the teachings of Pure Land Buddhism. The answer was so simple, so radical, it sent shockwaves through Japan. Salvation wasn't a test of endurance or intelligence. It wasn't locked behind temples or reserved for the privileged. It was a gift, available to anyone, anywhere, at any moment. All they had to do was call upon Amida Buddha's name, Namu Amida Butsu. Just faith, spoken aloud. A single phrase could open the doors to the Pure Land, a realm where enlightenment was within reach. Suddenly, the powerless had power, the forgotten had hope, and the Buddhist establishment had a problem. The thing is, if salvation was free to everyone, what happened to the monks' authority, or the system built on exclusivity? They couldn't let it stand. So, in 1207, the backlash came, and it was intense. Honen was declared a threat. His followers were hunted, and some were even arrested. He was banished to a remote province, his teachings outlawed. For a long time, the Buddhist elite believed they had silenced him. However, Honen's message was already too powerful to be buried. Before his passing in 1212, Honen laid the foundation for the Jodo school, Pure Land Buddhism, one of the most widely practiced traditions in Japan today. It's clear Honen's revolution was unstoppable. However, while Honen transformed spirituality with a simple chant, some monks took their devotion to even greater extremes, so extreme that their very bodies became proof of their enlightenment. Luang Pho-Deng. At Wat Kunaram Temple in Thailand, a mystery sits frozen in time. Decades have passed since 1973, yet Luang Pho-Deng remains exactly as he was in life. Seated in deep meditation, his expression serene, untouched by decay. Tourists and devotees alike gather in silent awe, staring at the monk who seems to have defied death itself. You see, Luang Pho-Deng was no ordinary monk. He lived with unwavering discipline, dedicating himself to the depths of meditation and the purity of Buddhist teachings. He sought nothing but spiritual transcendence, and when his time came, he met his passing in the same stillness that had defined his life. His followers placed him in a glass case at Wat Kunaram Temple, expecting his remains to wither with time. However, something extraordinary happened. The days turned into months, months turned into years, and his body did not change. His skin, his posture, and even the peaceful look on his face remained untouched by time. Scientists wonder if his plant-based diet played a role, or if the dry, warm climate somehow preserved him. However, others believe something deeper is at work, that his mastery of mind and body allowed him to step beyond the laws of nature, existing in perfect harmony even in death. Luang Pho-Deng's story is one of stillness, of quiet defiance against time itself. As he met his end in absolute peace, though, another monk sought the truth in relentless motion. Bodhidharma. 9 years. That's how long Bodhidharma sat in unbroken meditation, eyes locked onto a cave wall, unmoved by hunger, cold, or the relentless march of time. This was no ordinary monk. In fact, Bodhidharma would become a spiritual warrior whose presence would shake empires and unknowingly give birth to Shaolin Kung Fu. Born in India, he crossed treacherous landscapes, driven by an unshakable purpose: to strip away illusion and awaken people to the raw, unfiltered truth of existence. His journey led him to China in the 6th century, where he encountered monks, scholars, and even an emperor. When Emperor Wu of Liang, eager to display his devotion, proudly asked what spiritual merit he had earned by building temples and spreading Buddhism, Bodhidharma's answer cut like a blade: none whatsoever. The emperor was stunned. To him, it was clear Bodhidharma wasn't here to flatter kings or recite comforting scriptures, and he admired that. However, his greatest act of defiance came after reaching the Shaolin Temple. There, he sat in absolute silence, staring at a cave wall for 9 unbroken years. His very presence became a legend, a living embodiment of Zen's raw intensity. It is said his meditation was so powerful, his very energy reshaped the temple itself. Then, there was Shaolin Kung Fu. The monks at Shaolin were weak, their bodies too fragile to endure the extreme demands of deep meditation. Bodhidharma saw their struggle and introduced rigorous physical training, exercises designed to build strength, endurance, and unwavering focus. These teachings evolved into Shaolin martial arts, an explosive fusion of mind and body, movement and stillness. Bodhidharma's fierce dedication forever altered the course of Chinese Buddhism. However, as he sat in stillness, another spiritual trailblazer was in motion, redefining enlightenment in a way no one had before. Marpa Lotsawa. In the rugged mountains of 11th century Tibet, where spiritual seekers braved the elements in search of enlightenment, one man's journey stood out above the rest. Marpa Lotsawa, known as the Great Translator, would soon become a force of transformation. Born in 1012, his life's work was to bring the sacred teachings of Indian Buddhism to Tibet. Without him, Tibetan Buddhism as we know it might not exist. Of course, Marpa's quest was anything but easy. Determined to learn directly from the great Indian masters, he set out on perilous journeys across the Himalayas, not once, but multiple times. These treks were filled with danger, treacherous mountain passes, deadly cold, and the constant threat of bandits. However, Marpa was undeterred. Each time, he returned with precious Buddhist texts, rare teachings, and a deeper understanding of the spiritual path. His studies led him to legendary teachers like Naropa and Metta, under whom he mastered intricate meditative practices and esoteric philosophies. However, translating texts wasn't just about language. It required deep spiritual insight. Marpa didn't merely bring back Buddhist scriptures. He infused them with the wisdom of lived experience, making them accessible to his fellow Tibetans. One of Marpa's most defining relationships was with Milarepa, who would go on to become Tibet's most revered yogi and poet. Their journey together, though, was far from gentle. Milarepa came to Marpa seeking guidance, but instead of immediate teachings, he was put through grueling trials. Marpa ordered him to build and rebuild stone towers, which was demanding, exhausting work under harsh conditions. To outsiders, this seemed cruel. However, Marpa saw something deeper. Milarepa carried a dark past, tainted by misdeeds, and before he could embrace enlightenment, his karma needed purification. What is interesting here is that Milarepa endured the suffering with unwavering determination. Finally, Marpa deemed him ready and initiated him into the highest spiritual teachings. What emerged from this intense mentorship was a yogi who would inspire millions. Milarepa, the enlightened poet saint of Tibet. Marpa Lotsawa's relentless pursuit of wisdom ensured Tibetan Buddhism's survival. But centuries later, in a distant land, Sri Ramakrishna would take a different path. Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was a mystic whose hunger for the divine could not be contained. Born in 1836 near Kolkata, his entire existence became an offering to the pursuit of spiritual truth. As the priest of the Dakshineswar Kali temple, he plunged into worship with such intensity that the boundaries between himself and the goddess seemed to dissolve. He would slip into trances, lost in a world where the divine was not a distant force, but a presence so vivid it consumed his every breath. His search for truth could not be confined to one path. He immersed himself in Christianity, meditating on Christ until a radiant vision filled his consciousness. He embraced Islam, chanting the name of Allah until he was overcome by its profound serenity. Each path led to the same realization. Different names, different rituals, but one unshakable truth. Sarva Dharma Sambhava. All religions held the same essence, the same light. This was not just philosophy, it was a revolution. Now, Ramakrishna's message could have faded into temple walls, known only to a handful of devoted followers. However, fate had a different plan. Swami Vivekananda carried his master's vision across oceans, turning it into a movement. The Ramakrishna mission emerged as a living force, building schools, hospitals, and humanitarian efforts that breathed life into his teachings. In the end, Ramakrishna left behind more than words. He left a path, wide enough for the world to walk. Just as his wisdom shattered the illusion of religious division, though, the discovery of a 200-year-old mummified monk challenges the very limits of life and death itself. 200-year-old mummy. In the freezing wilds of Mongolia, scientists and spiritual seekers are baffled by a mind-blowing discovery: a 200-year-old mummified monk, still sitting in deep meditation like he never left. His hands rest in the dhyana mudra, a sign of intense focus. His body, practically untouched by time. He looks like he just paused life mid-meditation. Some believe this monk was the mentor of Dashi Dorje Tigilov, a legendary Buddhist master who passed away while meditating in 1927, and whose body also mysteriously resisted decay. However, experts think this monk was practicing tukdam, a rare meditative state where the body slows so much that it practically stops functioning. There's no heartbeat, and yet somehow he's still there. Buddhist practitioners believe tukdam is a bridge between life and something bigger, a state where consciousness lingers even when the body should be long gone. Monks in this state have been known to stay perfectly preserved for days or weeks, but 2 centuries, that's unheard of. Some say Mongolia's extreme cold might have worked like a natural freezer. Others think his incredibly disciplined lifestyle, pure diet, breath control, years of deep meditation, could have changed his body's chemistry in ways we still don't understand. Then there are the rumors of sacred herbs, secret rituals, and anointing oils, though so far, no embalming techniques have been confirmed. What's clear is this: meditation isn't just sitting cross-legged and breathing deeply. This discovery might prove it has real physical power, maybe even the ability to defy death itself. While this monk's body defied time in frozen meditation, Xu Yun roamed the world, leaving footprints of wisdom across history. Xu Yun. Xu Yun wasn't just a Buddhist master, he was a living bridge between centuries. Born in 1840, he saw the rise and fall of emperors, the chaos of wars, the birth of modern China, and the relentless march of time. Yet through it all, he remained unshaken. His path was anything but easy, though. From a young age, he chose a life of extreme discipline, dedicating himself to deep meditation practices that pushed the limits of body and mind. It is said that his devotion allowed him to reach profound states of enlightenment, inspiring countless others on their spiritual journeys. Some called him a sage, others thought he was mad. However, Xu Yun wasn't interested in titles. He was after something far greater. He traveled thousands of miles on foot, crossing mountains and rivers, sleeping under the stars, and enduring the harshest elements, all in pursuit of deeper truth. Along the way, he spearheaded efforts to restore ancient monasteries that had fallen into ruin due to war and neglect. Among his greatest achievements was the rebuilding of the historic Yunmen Monastery, a sacred place that became a beacon for Buddhist teachings and practice. However, not everyone welcomed his wisdom. You see, he lived through a time of immense political upheaval. During the communist crackdown on religion, he was arrested, tortured, and left severely injured. Any ordinary man would have broken. Xu Yun, he simply got back up. Instead of hatred, he met his persecutors with compassion. Instead of fear, he responded with unshakable peace. What's more, Xu Yun's teachings were rooted in Chan Buddhism, a tradition that rejected mere intellectual study in favor of direct experience. He taught that true understanding doesn't come from books or dogma. It comes from disciplined meditation and mindfulness. His words were simple yet profound, designed to cut through illusion and bring his disciples face to face with truth. His impact didn't stop in China, though. The Chan Buddhism he helped preserve spread far beyond its borders, shaping the global practice of Zen in Japan and the rise of meditation in the modern world. His life was a testament to the idea that true wisdom doesn't bend to time, politics, or oppression. It only grows stronger. Xu Yun's journey proved that enlightenment could withstand the tides of history. But Lama Tenzin Sangha took devotion to an entirely different realm. The living Buddha, Lama Sangha Tenzin. Some figures in history leave behind words, temples, or scriptures. Back in the 15th century, Lama Sangha Tenzin left behind something even more extraordinary: himself. Revered as the living Buddha, his devotion to his village wasn't just spiritual, it was an act of ultimate sacrifice. In life, he was a monk of immense wisdom and kindness, dedicated to guiding his people toward peace and enlightenment. However, his greatest act came when he made an unfathomable choice: to meditate into eternity. Faced with an impending disaster, he entered a deep meditative state, never to awaken again, offering his own existence as protection for his village. Over time, his body naturally mummified, astonishing all who witnessed the miracle. However, the story didn't end there. Centuries later, fate intervened. In 1975, a powerful earthquake shook the land, unearthing his tomb. When villagers uncovered his body, they found something incredible. He remained perfectly preserved, as if time had never touched him. To them, this wasn't just a body, it was proof that his spirit had never left. They believed he was still watching over them, a silent guardian transcending the boundaries of life and death. If Lama Sangha Tenzin defied time by meditating into eternity, Saint Anthony the Great challenged the very forces of darkness, turning the harsh desert into his battleground for faith. Saint Anthony. Some renounce wealth, while others renounce comfort. Saint Anthony the Great renounced the world itself. Born into privilege in Egypt around 251 AD, he could have lived a life of luxury, but instead, he chose the unknown. Leaving behind his inheritance, he ventured deep into the desert, seeking a life of prayer, solitude, and unshakable faith. Little did he know that his journey would shape the future of Christian monasticism. Now the desert was no silent sanctuary. Anthony's greatest battles weren't against hunger or thirst. They were against demons. According to legend, he endured relentless spiritual attacks, facing monstrous visions, whispered temptations, and terrifying apparitions. The forces of darkness tried to shake his resolve, but Anthony stood firm, wielding only the weapons of prayer, meditation, and unwavering faith. In the years that he lived, though, Saint Anthony didn't just become a monk, he became a legend. His life of strict self-discipline became a powerful example of how deep solitude can bring you closer to God. The surprising part here is that even though he lived alone in the desert, Saint Anthony's influence reached far and wide. People came from all over to seek his wisdom, healing, and guidance. Soldiers, rich men, and even those struggling with life's challenges all gave up everything to follow Anthony and become monks. Why? Because they found something in him that they couldn't find in their busy lives, a peace and purpose they desperately needed. People believed it was as if Anthony became a healer sent by God to help the souls of Egypt. Saint Anthony lived an astonishing 106 years. At his request, St. Anthony's grave was kept a secret. When he passed away, his two faithful disciples buried him quietly, keeping the location hidden. This is because Anthony didn't want his body to become an object of worship. Despite all the people who admired him, he wanted his legacy to be about the teachings he left behind, not a place people would visit in reverence. What began as a solitary quest soon became the foundation of a movement. He became the model for Christian monks, inspiring generations to embrace lives of simplicity, self-denial, and prayer. Today, monasticism stands as a testament to his legacy, a way of life still followed by those seeking deeper spiritual connection. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.